Recording in progress.
All right, 5:30, January 4th, I call the Economic Development Commission for the town of Groton to order. Roll call, Robert Boris, Commissioner.
Joe Delacrith, Commissioner.
Jake Dunnigan.
Yeah. Commissioner.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Yeah. Is anyone online or?
I do not see anybody.
Okay.
Wait a minute, what's that attendee? David McBride.
Welcome,
Good evening, I'm
Councilman.
here. Good to see everyone.
Thank
Good to see you.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Happy-
okay, great. Happy New Year. Yes, absolutely.
You as well.
Thank you.
Let's see, should we give, it's a good time now to have Jake introduce himself?
I think so.
Okay, right. We have a new member and I'm very grateful that you're joining us. Very impressed with your energy and focus and we had a great conversation about outreach and Jake agreed to kind of come aboard and help us with, we'll discuss the goals later on, but if you want to introduce yourself, say anything.
Sure. My name is Jake Dunnigan. I been in town for a dozen years or so. I'm excited to be involved and I'm hope I can do some good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm an attorney, if that matters. I worked at EB for a long time. And I have run and completely destroyed a business. So I have some idea of what's going on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I just want to welcome you, Jake, as well. You know, we talked a little bit offline regarding the EDC and our role, which we're gonna cover a little bit and talking about some goals, but it's really important that we have quality individuals that are passionate about business and economic development in the town, and that certainly came through with your interest. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I do know Jake from a Pizzetta crossing.
Yeah.
That's why I think we both met and had a great conversation. So I'm excited to see what you bring to the table. I know will be good stuff, so.
Thanks.
Awesome. It's gonna be a good year. Public communications. Any?
I don't believe so. I
Right.
don't see anyone here. No one is on the Zoom.
Okay, approval of minutes, the December 7th minutes
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
approved.
Seconded.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
you do.
Three.
Okay, here's a
We
four.
have 5 members right now, so.
Okay.
I was thinking four, okay.
All right, motion approved. Let's see, old business. I passed around, sorry, I didn't get it into the packet, the 2024 goals.
One of those.
I'll try to really read it real quick and then there could be any discussion about it. It's along the lines of exactly what we talked about before, focus on outreach. So I'll start with just so everyone knows that the purpose of the Economic Development Commission, will be the promotion and development of the business and industrial resources of the town. So for 2024, we have three goals. Like to increase the frequency of communication with local businesses, organize forums to update businesses and residents on town developments and opportunities relevant to them, solicit their input on issues, establish regular EDC presence at local business associations and events. Number 2, improve business advocacy through outreach, conduct surveys, interviews with local business owners to better understand their needs and challenges, share the results with the town council, and use the data to actively promote policies and projects that support local business growth. I think this is one of the things we were all talking about. We need more facts to discuss around the table. We have really good experience with George and other members who've been around here. We got to kind of get post-COVID back in touch with, you know, the business and community and kind of beyond on the issues that are current. So, and then the last one, strengthen the relationships with our local business community, identify key stakeholders in major Groton business sectors, set up meetings to further understand the specific business needs, report the insights to the EDC for discussion and recommendation and collaborate with business leaders on initiatives that foster and support local economy. So if anybody has anything for discussion on it, anything to add, verbiage, that'd be great.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think-
So I would just, to give it some context, the
Yeah.
EDC is supposed to do an annual report every year and just report out to the council. It's actually provided to the town manager, who then conveys it to the town council. So that annual report basically talks about what's been done over a 12-month period, but it also concludes with the desired goals for the subsequent coming year. So
Right.
this is important, trying to wrap up the 12 months that were just completed and set the stage for the future.
And I'll send out the draft of the report, the first portion of this, so we can vote on it in the next meeting, and then I'll forward it over to John for the previous year.
Yep.
So,
My only comment would be that in January of 2025, it's gonna be a little difficult to say whether or not we did this. It's gonna be tough to say with specificity that might be nice to put a number in there.
whether, you mean the metrics on whether we accomplished?
Yeah, like what is that?
Yeah.
What does some of this actually mean in terms of?
Right.
Even just adding a number of sectors or which sectors and how,
Right.
like, just something to give us a, because I could have one conversation and meet these goals.
Yeah.
Like the whole year.
It's a good point. And one of the things is, I was thinking, we'll talk about, Suzanne Ellery did a great job with the outreach
Mhm.
subcommittee, and I'm gonna look to you and maybe make a motion and nominate you to be the new chair of that. And that gives us the opportunity to have those outreach meetings and then fill in the
Provide
gaps
that.
of like, what are the standards? One of the things we broadly, Bill had done a great job earlier about this, is throwing out, like, asking everybody on the commission to meet at least 3 businesses, and then, but I like the approach of being very specific, and I also like to be held accountable for that as well. So if we sort of baseline it at the subcommittee meeting and then discuss it here and then constantly check in with ourselves, I think we would be able to compare where we are now with the end of the year. Like, did we succeed? How did we succeed in this and stuff like that?
For the record, sorry to interrupt, George Mathenall joined at about 5:35 for the record. So on the Zoom, we have David McBride and George Mathenall.
Welcome, George. Happy New Year.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy
So
New Year.
we just went over, it wasn't in the packet, but we just discussed the goals draft. Were you able to? Did you hear that, or?
The goals, I had.
Yeah,
a
the
bit of
draft.
practice.
The draft of goals for 2024.
I may have missed it. I came in perhaps on the last bit.
Okay,
But if
basically.
you just send it to me later, I will have a copy of it, then I will know it. If
Okay.
that saves the time.
Should we go over it again real quick so we can vote on it, or just wait till next meeting, or how? Since George didn't hear it.
I don't think it takes that long to go over it again. I know it's a little redundant,
Yeah.
but just
All right.
so that all the voting members clearly understand what you're proposing.
Okay, so George, I'm just gonna read through them real quick again, so you can hear them, so we can make a motion to approve the goals and include that with the draft of last year's stuff, and then move forward. That's okay. Do you mind?
Sure, not at all. Thank you. Thank you for taking the trouble.
Okay. No problem. So the 2024 goals are all outreach related, like we discussed before. Real quick, the first one is increase the frequency of communication with local businesses, organize forums to update businesses and residents on town developments and opportunities relevant to them, solicit their input on issues, establish a regular EDC presence at local business and association events. Number 2, improve business advocacy through outreach, conduct surveys with local business owners to better understand the needs and challenges, share results with the town council, use the data to actively promote policies and projects that support local business growth. And number three is strengthen relationships with local business community, identify key stakeholders in major Groton business sectors, set up one-on-one meetings to further understand specifics, business needs, and report the insights to the EDC for discussion and recommendations, and collaborate with business leaders on initiatives that foster a supported and support the local economy. So what we were talking, George, the philosophy behind that is to get us all information so we can have meaningful discussions and kind of better utilize your experience over the years in town by having some relevant kind of input from, the local business today, but post-COVID. So if you have any input, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'd love to just move through adopting this and kind of get on with it.
I'd like to add perhaps engagement, more specifically the wording, engagement with industry supply chains in our region.
Okay.
Industry
Just
supply
be-
chains.
Just on the number 4,
Yeah.
maybe. Industry.
You have the word.
So we have three major industries. We have obviously maybe four. We have the electric boat. We have the undersea. We have the life science or health sciences. And then we also have the climate and maritime.
Okay.
Without being specific, we'll just say just engage major players.
Okay.
Well, because we wouldn't want to leave anybody out either.
Yeah.
Because that usually they'll say, well, you forgot about pharmaceutical or just engage our major industries, which I think that may be covered in the first 3 if you really read into it. But
Yeah. And we don't want you don't want the little guys to figure we're not. It's everybody. So,
Yeah.
but duly noted, George. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously.
so when I meant supply chain, we're talking about going forward in
Yeah.
2024. These are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, micro businesses that will be supplying to develop the next submarine or develop the next vaccine or develop a new tool for climate change and so forth. So these are going 2024 is a watershed year for micro businesses.
Got it. So maybe at the end of number 2 and some verbiage about supply chain.
Yes. I was gonna also recommend that we give some deference to the committee because they need to do some work on what the strategy is too. And George, valid point on the industry supply chains, but that also excludes some grouping as well. I think if we're asking our committee to do some work, they should do some targeted focus. That would be supply chain, but maybe hypothetically they say we want to also focus on all new businesses, or we want to focus on businesses that have been in existence for 30 years. I'm making all this up, but I think we need to give some flexibility to the committee to come up with a targeted approach, and also, to Jake's point, come up with some metrics, pick some numbers, whether it's going to be monthly, annual, what have you. So I think this is the broad-based perspective you're talking about, but you're asking the committee to really come up with some specifics and strategy.
So George, would you be comfortable if we leave this broad and we task
Yeah,
the outreach?
absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Because
So,
we do not have going forward, unlike the last 20 years with AI, we do not have a clarity on the evolving role of new businesses and what they're going to be in the first place. And we are going to be seeing a lot of minority businesses from all over the country. And because of AUKUS, we may have businesses from Australia and UK that may be coming
Yeah.
to Groton. So we do not know, unfortunately, going forward in 2024, as we have had the luxury in the past years.
Okay, excellent. So we'll do that. We'll push it to the committee. Should we, motion to approve these?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve as the goals draft as written.
Perfect. Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so moved. Thank you. Any other old business?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So new business, George, Jake joined us, and I'd like to make a motion to approve, unless you're interested in the position. He's willing to take the position of chair of the outreach committee. So, I'd like to make a motion to approve Jake as a chairman of the.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? So moved. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. So, now should we talk about, you heard, I mean, we all discussed what the sort of parameters. How do we, okay,
Yeah, I was just gonna comment if you don't mind. Obviously, Jake is new. He's trying to figure out logistically how this works. We'll talk outside of this meeting, but we'll handle any logistics that you need. Technically, it is a public meeting, so we have to post it. We'll handle the postings, but in terms of the date selection, you can talk with me and form an agenda, and we'll provide whatever you need to make it legit.
Yep.
And go from there.
what we were doing before is, well, at these meetings, you'll have we'll, brief the committee. There'll be a slot and talk about what happened the last time. I think we should talk about membership, right? Do we need to all renew who was already a member of that? I think it was Joe and I, right?
Yeah.
So we re-up, do we have to re-motion or just to be on that committee or?
I think we're good. We're not really changing.
All right, so
And-
Joe and I are your worker bees
Okay.
for that. When you'll talk about this, share with him what the old schedule was. If you
Yeah.
want to adopt that or what the timing was for us to. Yeah, I'm very happy with this. And again, I'm very grateful for you to take this on. And I think it gives us the ability to not just have a whole month go by with us like dealing at this level on it and to do the things you already pointed out, metrics, specifics, things. Because you can see George is chomping at the bit to talk about some substance stuff, right? So it's gonna, liven everything up. I think it's a great thing. I'm very enthusiastic about having that.
And I think in the past, those meetings were 10 o'clock during the day. And I don't know if that was because of the chair, but I wasn't able to attend.
Right.
And I still probably wouldn't be able to just because of the workload that we have. So
Right.
just to keep that in mind, if or later, that doesn't really, I know it's usually staff, they're with staff when they're doing those, right? During the day, the meetings, or is that,
Yeah.
I don't want to give you too many night meetings.
Well, what time?
Joe has a baseball team to coach soon.
Yeah, that's-
Focus this year.
This guy, I got a
like-
tough manager.
You think like 5 in the morning or something?
Yeah, exactly. Nah.
4:30, yeah.
No, I mean, just keeping it in mind. I mean, my hours don't go by my hours, but it would be better than like 10 o'clock seems to be smack dab in the middle of every EB meeting that we ever have. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know maybe like 7:38 is probably too early, I
In
guess.
the morning?
Yeah, I mean, okay, 7:30, I'm on my way into work. Like I start at 7:30, but if we did, and I don't know if that's too early, but 8 o'clock might be a decent time where,
How does the
Tomorrow
morning
meeting.
work for you?
It depends on the day, but 8 o'clock's not too early for me, certainly.
okay.
That actually works well for Lauren
Yeah.
as well.
Great.
Lauren on our staff, she handles a lot of the logistics,
Mhm.
and that would include this meeting. 8 o'clock works for her.
Yeah,
Works for
Cool.
me.
I can do whatever makes sense.
yeah, 10 o'clock was tough for me,
Okay.
seemed to be.
Okay.
Okay, one other thing is we had discussed before, I'd like to make a motion to approve, funding of a paver for the sale memorial.
I will absolutely make that, support that motion.
Perfect.
Second it.
Motion, Vivana, and then maybe just tell everybody again, you know, what it is and all that.
Be more than happy to.
Okay, to get us a good spot. I know you said Jim would freak out if we wanted to
Listen,
see exactly where it is, but the EDC.
I know how to move pavers, so I feel pretty confident that, well, I'm definitely not encouraging you to think that way, but, so the paver program, I've been standing in front of EB, I've only done it once. Jim Streeter had this brilliant idea of putting it in the day paper, and we've seen a huge uptick in sales. So that seems to be rolling the right direction. And the $250 will get you, basically a 6-inch by 6-inch paver. And we have all the logos that are important to the area. We have the Navy Dolphins. We have a submarine that says Submarine Capital of the World. Ledge Light Lighthouse, I think, was one of them. Then the EB symbol. A lot of folks that are retired or still working at EB are really interested in it. And for certainly anybody that was in the Navy that served. But what we're really trying to get is folks that were educators and babysitters and, you know, families that really, when we really talk about the impact that submarines have had on our community, it's every single person. And in a way, you know, and most of these monuments are usually geared towards the folks that served on them and served on them only. And this one, I think, is going to be just that much more impactful because people that built it and maintain them and, you know, the spouses that are behind when it's just a lot. And I like, again, I told you when I was coaching your baseball team owner, Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
We lost 3 kids this year, 2 before we even started the season. They practiced with us 3 times, and then one was out to Hawaii and one was down in Virginia. And, you know, you realize after being a grandfather, how impactful that is, even on my 5-year-old grandson, you know, where'd they leave?
Yeah.
It's just regular, normal life for kids that live around here. And I guess regular, normal life for the kids that travel away. But it means a lot. And to be able to recognize that. And I'd love to have an EDC tile that somewhere, because I think it belongs there. Because obviously we're having an impact with what we're doing. So thank you for the
My pleasure. So motion to fund. It's approved. Second.
What's the money go to?
$250 will buy a paver. We would have to, I guess, essentially pick one of the logos.
Okay.
I would say Submarine Capital of the World
Right.
and just Groton Economic Development Committee.
Sure, great.
Town of Groton.
Or Town of Groton or,
Oh.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So bricks are pretty cheap. So where does the rest of the money go to? What is it for? Like, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
That was-
I've been talking about this so much.
I
feel like everybody knows it. But right on 117, it's gonna be going from north to south and facing like it's going back up to the base. So right in front of the public library along 117, we have basically the USS Groton that's been the sail has been chopped off and the rudder.
Mhm.
And they are placed you know, exactly, specifically in the length.
Gotcha.
But then it's also bermed and it's gonna be about 16 foot high to the wing.
Oh, so kind of like
So-
Albacore.
It's, but this one's gonna be probably the only life-size one that we have around here.
It's gonna look like a buried submarine almost, like they buried it in dirt.
Okay.
With
Yeah.
the sails up, yeah.
You'll feel like you're standing on water level, looking up at this thing. And actually, I'll give you some photos of it. If you go to grotonsale.com, it'll show everything that's gonna be happening and
Sure.
you're gonna be as excited as I am.
I want or 3 or 4 or 5.
You're gonna want your own brick.
Cool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the motion.
My pleasure. Let's see. So we have any other new business? Chair report, the only thing I'll share is, we're working on Paige, maybe give more detail. We're having a meeting at the end of January. I think we have the room set for Sector to come and speak to, we're still working out the agenda, speak to the realtors. Leanne had helped coordinate a lot of that, and I hadn't gotten response in the beginning of the year. I hadn't gotten a lot of the details yet, but I'll send the information out to everybody as soon as I firm it up in this next week. But the concept was to have the Association of Realtors come sector come and there be a discussion about some of the funding initiatives related to housing and other things across the state.
Business development.
Yeah, business development across the state. So, Paige, you already got the room and the time, is it?
Yes. It's morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was, well, I'll send all the more of the details, but that's basically what we were working on at the end of the year as, you know, holiday plans and everything got put in place. So that's really all I have on that. Staff report?
Sure, I'm just gonna try to find. Do you have a date? It's Tuesday, January 30th at 9 a.m. in this room, Town Hall Annex CR1, a large room. Board of Realtors meeting, and as you said, with Sector,
Mhm.
9 a.m.
So if anybody has any input or wants to participate in that agenda stuff, I'm happy to, I'll share. I talked to Paul, saw him at an event, and they're excited to do firm up what it is. But generally, it's information sharing related to programs and funding.
Mhm.
How long do you expect it to go? Is it 9 to 10:30 or is it?
I was thinking of, yeah, like an hour, but Leanne talked about having like a smorgasbord of information. So
Yeah.
it depends how many other people we can interest in giving a briefing. She was talking about some of the local politicians maybe participating and coming and sharing what they know, but I don't know if we need all that, but if we can get it, maybe. But the good part is we have Sector and the realtors. So I think that's a good, you know, minimum exceptional kind of launching pad for that. But if you have other ideas, Joe, and you.
No, I was just curious on the length of time,
Yeah.
what it was.
I think sometimes a lot of stuff is like when Sector comes to brief, some of the information, it's just overwhelming. Like I think you brought it up too when Walker was here. It's like there's so much, right? And at one sitting, you can't absorb all the information. So it's like you got to just, you know, hit the top of the trees and give people points of contact to talk to. But if you're talked to about all these systems, it just becomes a blur. So
Especially the resources,
yeah,
more than information, financial resources.
Yeah.
I remember coming out of COVID, there was a lot of talk locally about, well, maybe we need to create our own revolving fund, but the feds were pumping money out, the state was pumping money out, and Sector now has a lot of money for business development that is huge in comparison to what we would ever do at the town level. So it's important for brokers and investors to know that these financial resources are available. And there's still.
Who would be the target for this? Because in my head, I'm like, is it it's a small business person that's looking for
Pretty much
a loan or or some kind of, or even a grant or.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's
But also I
specific to.
think they'll probably talk about housing too.
yeah.
Housing
Yeah,
development.
yeah, residential developers, other things. They're going to talk about some of the programs the Vermont administration issued, right?
Right.
There's some really great aggressive financing.
Yeah.
I think there's deed restrictions for that are part of the package that are there for 10 years or so if you give affordable housing as a component of it. But again, the good part about this is you're going to hear it from the actual mouth of the individuals who know it and not disinformation.
Perfect.
You know, I'm excited about it. I could say something not exactly correct and it's not helpful. So this is a great forum for,
Okay.
you know,
Excuse my ignorance real quick. Sector sort of sounds like a milk toast bond villain group. What is Sector?
It's a Southeast Connecticut enterprise region. It's a regional economic development organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a state-run organization?
No, nonprofit,
It's nonprofit. Okay.
but
Funded through the state though, right?
they do receive some state funding. It's analogous in other parts of the state. There's Rex down in New Haven, which serves that region.
Okay.
Metro Hartford Alliance, obviously the Hartford
know.
area.
Okay.
So Sector is our counterpart to those.
Cool.
You didn't know them.
Okay. Good.
By the way, Paige,
Yes,
I think I brought it up last month and I can't remember. We have a small fund, the town, that we do help with the facade and all those kind of things. Do we still have that? It used to be like 600K. Do we still have that, or is that
we
rolled into something?
we actually have two funds now, George. I think the one you're referring to is a larger fund. It's our Economic Assistance Fund that focuses more on infrastructure.
Yep.
The current balance right now, it's over 300,000, I would say. It helps projects, water, sewer, sidewalks, stormwater, those types of projects. But we have a second program that was recently launched. We call it the Groton Pivot Grant Program.
Yep.
And that's actually in my monthly staff report. And that's a smaller program, maximum award $5,000. But
Yep.
that came from ARPA monies. And it's mainly targeting smaller businesses that might want to do things such as facade improvement, like you said, or maybe improve their digital marketing presence, help with business planning, those types of things.
So I was just looking through the website. I guess I do this once a year, and good time to look at it. So I do see the pivot, but I don't see the earlier one that we used to, the 600 or the 300K one. It's not listed on our website.
It's under
Release-
explore more Groton under incentives.
Yeah, I am looking at it. Is it the Economic Assistance Fund?
Yes.
All right, okay. Maybe we should put that down as Groton Economic Assistance Fund, so that at least anybody searching for it will know it's something that comes from the town itself.
All right.
Thank you. And maybe even for the pivot, if it says that. Small business pivot, Groton Small Business Pivot Grant. And that, by wording it that way, we may be able to get some way to get it topped up to whatever resources.
It's possible. We'll do anything. Typically, people, they come to us with a general ask, will the town help us? They don't know what the nomenclature is. They almost don't care. They just want to know, do you have resources? And it's incumbent on us to say yes. And we try to direct them the best we can to those available resources. We actually have a pre-application form that we ask people to complete, because sometimes they'll say, I want a tax abatement. And once we find out more about what they're looking for, we say, are you aware that Sector or the state has this other program? So instead of getting the tax abatement, there's this other program. They said, oh, I had no idea that existed. So that pre-application form allows us to best understand who they are, what they need for help, and then we try to do some matchmaking from there.
So we are lucky, Paige, that we have you managing our EDC, while simultaneously you, as the president of the Economic Development Professional at CDUS, that you also get a broader perspective on what the state and the municipalities across the state of Connecticut is getting. So we are blessed to have you on board here that is able to see through that whole web.
Careful, George, we have to work with him all year.
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
he's swelling up.
So big.
You're okay.
Thanks, George.
You owe me a Guinness.
Okay.
That's what that was about.
So do you, Joe. I remember 4 years ago you hosted us, or 6 years ago, you hosted the Groton EDC at your place, and you gave us all wine to drink while we had our meeting.
I did.
They keep coming back.
That was a very productive meeting, probably. Yeah.
Awesome meeting, actually.
Okay, I think everybody knows, Jake, just to let you know, we typically provide an economic development report. I try not to read directly from the report, but there are some highlights that I think are important to get on the record and verbally go through. I think most participants at the EDC meeting see many of these projects carry forward, but I'll try to touch on all of them to give you some baseline. We just talked, the first one, we just talked about the small business pivot grant. As I said, ARPA funding, our first deadline for that fund, it ended December 15th. You know, we have submittals. We're still in the process of reviewing those. Early this new year, we will focus on the applications and be working with the applicants and trying to make decisions on those awards and try to expedite getting funding to them. It's not here, but we were only allocated $100,000 from the ARPA funding. The town received, I think it was 8.6 million, I think, in ARPA funding. And there were over 50 different project awards, different allocations, social services, community groups, town departmental projects. We were only allocated for this project 100,000, and the maximum award is 5,000. So simple math, it's not going to go that far. It's only going to be allocated to at a 20 businesses at a maximum $5,000 award. So we'll see how this goes, and certainly will help some individuals. Maybe if it's highly successful, it could be the beginning of how we might fund with our own money, more local money in the future, a similar program. Maybe we use this as a beta to show what the true need is and go back through the town manager and the council and request funding to help more businesses. But obviously, this is the first time we are doing this. And I'm sure we'll learn some things, but at the same time, try to help some people. Community challenge grant, that's been a carryover for a while. Initially, the town received an award of 8.4 million, but one of the projects got pulled out by the state and reallocated to the Department of Housing. So this funding comes from the Department of Community Development, Economic and Community Development. So the $2 million projects at 58 Fort Hill Road got pulled out, reallocated to the Department of Housing. So that left us 6.4 million for a variety of projects. We call it the Pequannock Bridge Village revitalization effort, mainly town projects like sidewalk, the boardwalk, the gazebo, walkway along the causeway. But also it includes 51 brand new dwelling units at Grasso Gardens, unrelated to the existing units that are there. These are going to be off to the side, part of new construction at that site.
Library,
Excuse me?
Grasso Gardens across from the library.
Yeah, and it's Groton Housing Authority property. So between the town projects and the Groton Housing Authority projects, we are allocating 6.4 million. A lot of back and forth with the state. We had to finalize the budget, been going back and forth with attorneys to get this legal agreement done. And it's got to be signed by next week, January 11th. So it's pretty tight, but we'll get there. Sam Eisenbizer and I went down to New York City for the ICSC conference, the deal making conference. We've been doing that for a number of years, really productive. I think that developers, investors, brokers, they know Groton by now. When we used to do that, they would ask us, it's kind of a joke, but it's not funny. They would say, "Where's Groton?" I think, is that next to Hartford somewhere? And I think now people, they know where it is. So I consider that to be a success. There's a lot of follow-up after these meetings, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls and other meetings. So I think that is a good measure of success. It's pretty easy for us to tell our story these days with electric boat, and obviously the housing and the business growth and everything that comes with it goes with that. Next item, ARPA. That's been an ongoing project. We do have an ARPA coordinator, and we're finalizing all those legal agreements. The ARPA money is dealt with through a reimbursement basis. The only exception to that would be the town projects, the Groton town projects. But the nonprofits, private entities, we deal with them on a legal agreement basis with certain thresholds. When they expend certain monies and hit certain milestones, they submit their documentation and we reimburse them in accordance with what's in that agreement. The next category in the report deals with public property redevelopment. Many of these over the past few years have kind of stalled. COVID had some bearing. Town also was involved with an excess property redevelopment process. Things were on hold a little bit, but recently things are definitely moving along, even the ones that were in the pipeline. So the first one, Groton Heights School, the staff has made some revisions to the draft RFP. That RFP is going before the town council, well, the COW first, the committee of the whole. It's slated for January 23rd for their review. They ultimately have to approve it at a town council meeting. Once it's approved, we will release it. We've had a number of investors that have been watching this, particularly over the past, since the fall, really. And they're inquiring frequently, commonly, when's it coming out? So I think we're going to have some pretty significant interest on the Groton Heights School.
That's behind Bill Memorial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The next one, Gold Star Highway project, that's 517, 529 Gold Star Highway. The town owns those two lots, but it's adjacent to two privately owned parcels. So the 4 lots together as an aggregate total almost 20 acres, I think. And the town did enter into an option agreement with a firm named PJ&A, but PJ&A needed a builder. They needed a partner to make this happen. And recently they have secured that partner. That partner will come back to the town pretty soon with more details, but the name is Orr Development. And they're going to do a development similar to what was proposed before, basically fairly significant multifamily housing development. I don't know the final number, but probably somewhere around 250 units at that location. The former Sealy School, that project is referred to as Triton Square. That's been ongoing for quite a while. What's really exciting, if you drive by now and you look up from Route 12, you can see the structure being built. And tail end of the report, I was able to get from the developer, Don Marr. They actually sent quite a few photos. We just cherry some of the most interesting ones, but this is definitely exiting the design and planning phase, and we're in the construction phase. I think they plan on finishing by the end of this year. So it's pretty exciting. And we don't have any modern multifamily housing projects in Groton that are amenity rich, of this size. So this is going to kind of set the gold bar, the standard, and moving forward, people can finally understand what it's about. And it's not just for workers at EB, Pfizer, Navy base, but there'll be a lot of empty nesters. There'll be people that look for this type of housing and say, wow, I want to live here. So I think it's going to really open the eyes of a lot of people in the community, and hopefully people will be more welcoming of similar projects moving forward. Former Colonel Ledyard School, we did sell that property to Bell Site LLC. That property is on West Street. It's about a half a mile from Electric Boat. It's going to be a fairly easy walk and simple parking for a lot of the EB workers. I don't have a start date on that yet, but it is in the possession of the developer. They are now paying taxes, and I believe they'll have some construction groundbreaking in 2024. The former Pleasant Valley School, that's behind Cardinal Honda on Route 12. Similar to the Groton Heights project, we have updated the draft RFP. That draft RFP will also be before the COW on January 23rd. So there'll be two RFPs, Pleasant Valley and also Groton Heights, for initial consideration by the COW, who hopefully will be in support of it through a town council meeting with any appropriate edits that they need, so we can get that on the street. So we'll have two RFPs that hit the street at the same time, thereabouts, in hopefully early 2024, and we can move those projects forward. I think that's all we have in terms of recent activity this month. I often do also talk about unemployment rates. You'll find a table at the end just to give some context as what is trending. We started this table during COVID, and the numbers were quite high. We're in a much better position today, but it's almost like we've gone too far the other way. Unemployment's extremely low, and basically we've been hovering around 3% for 6 months plus.
Basically zero.
Super low. I think that concludes my report. I'm going into a little bit more detail than I normally do. Just want to give you some background information on those. Does anyone have any questions on these projects?
I would say best ways, the gas station was getting a little bit, it's getting in the papers, but we knew that would.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how much blasting was gonna happen. It's my office is adjacent to it, and we kept thinking that some fell in the shop. Like the first few times that happened, I kept going out in the shop because it was so loud. But it sounds like, it sounds like they're working with the neighbors, and whenever the people that live there were in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of everything. And now they got that, a lot of property's been taken down. I don't know if you went by it, the rock crusher's there now, and right when you're going up the hill towards McDonald's on the right, it's gonna be a gas station
Oh, over there. Okay.
on that side. Yeah. But
I was
it's
wondering. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
definitely a project.
I mean, we always have to be sensitive to residential neighborhoods, no doubt. And we did receive several calls, complaints. Deb Jones, the assistant director, took most of those. And I'm not dismissing the concerns, but I want to get back to the facts that that corridor is a commercially zoned
It is, yeah.
location. So I've heard some people say, well, we ought to have open space along the highway. It is by plan and zoning intended to be commercially developed. Also, I had learned at least some of the lots in that neighborhood are also zoned for commercial. So although there may be single family homes directly abutting, basically residential land uses are not allowed in that zoning district. They're basically legal non-conforming uses.
Wow.
But again, I don't want to be dismissive about a residential neighborhood. If they're
No,
gonna
it's-
do
yeah.
blasting and all that, they need to be sensitive to existing home sites that are abut them, but it clearly is a commercial zoning district.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, just, I usually come and just try and give an update of some things that are going on in subbase, interesting developments and things. So, we just, at the last COG meeting, presented, former Groton Mayor, Marion Galbraith, with the, Association of Defense Communities, 2023-2024 Southeast Connecticut, Defense Community Champion Award during the December meeting. And she, I'm not going to go through, but I included the whole write-up here because she's done so much for the military industry here in Groton and New London. It's really amazing. So she definitely deserved that. And it was a nice, it's nice to present that to her at the meeting. We had actually a couple of homecomings. I put the Colorados in here and a few pictures from that. See Santa Claus was on it. So obviously that's a security breach. They must have came back home through the North Pole. I don't know, but they do often, I guess, but picked up a stray passenger. But the South Dakota also came in on the 12th as well. So we had two homecomings, which are always fun to go to, especially around the holidays. Interesting little thing that happened. There's a company called Holy Joe's Coffee, and they donated like tons of coffee to the sub base. It was just kind of funny. They were actually serving some of it today. And I like the quote that the chaplain said: "The atom may fuel the submarines, but the coffee fuels the first." That's kind of cute. So I had to throw that in there. You can see the cases of coffee, so it's kind of neat. And the last little thing, as you went down Crystal Lake Road over there behind the tanks, you probably used to see the old dog course there, the military working dog course. That wasn't a very good spot. There was some ledge. It wasn't big enough, et cetera. So they actually ended up they got some money. They actually moved it kind of up on the hill, and it's a much better course now. And they just dedicated that and opened it up here a couple of weeks ago. So the dogs are happy. They have a new place to do their thing. So it's kind of fun. That's what I got. I don't know if you have any questions on. I can tell you we have a lot of is reported here because I did in the previous one. We have a ton of development happening at the sub base. In this NDAA, which just passed, almost $1/3 billion is being invested in sub base, replacing extending one of our piers, Pier 31, is going to be made about 100 feet longer to accommodate the new Block 5 submarines, which are 90 feet longer, which are going to be coming from our friends down south here. Probably in the next 3 or 4 years, we'll be getting the first one, give or take. So that's happening. And we're doing the whole weapons compound as well, where we store our weapons. So that's 2 huge projects coming down the pike. We've got a couple more piers that are going to get redone. Pier 8 and probably Pier 15, where we have our dry dock, is probably going to get redone. There's another building that's going to get built, the submarine storage facility. So, lots of money coming into the area, which is good, and lots of support from the Navy for sub base. So it's kind of saying that we're going to be around for a while longer, which is good. No more bragging. We don't want that. So I think,
That word is,
I don't like that word. So, but there's so much investment that, we can't see that happening again. So we're happy.
It was really interesting, the energy briefing you gave before about being. Being able to be off the grid for emergency preparedness and stuff. Pretty phenomenal considering how much energy you consume down there.
Yeah, we've got 2 new fuel cells that were installed through an enhanced use lease through CMEC, the Connecticut Municipal Electrical Energy Cooperative, which Groton Utilities is a big part of. And they installed 2 fuel cells on a piece of property that we had on base that we weren't using. It's basically a ledge, and those fuel cells can put out I think it's like 7 megawatts of power, And they're up and cranking right now, 100%, putting power out onto the grid, and they sell that power to the grid. That's how they make their money. But we can order that power brought and kept on base to power the base when the power goes out, or if there's a shortage or a brownout situation or what have you. We also have two brand new Rolls-Royce generators that were installed in our power plant through an energy savings contract. Those are two 5-megawatt generators. So between those two generators and the two fuel cells, we have pretty much enough power to run the base 100%, disconnected from Groton Utilities. Finishing up right now, there's a microgrid portion of that, which can control all that and actually do the isolating. That's being worked on and should be finished here in the next few months, knock on wood. And once that's done, we'll be able to, within an hour or two, isolate the base off and run completely on our own, except for maybe the most hottest days in the summer when we have like a whole bunch of submarines, we might be a little short. And then the microgrid can just shed some buildings that we don't really need, like the gym and, movie theater or whatever, and keep the essential loads up. So we'll have enough power to run the whole base. So it's exciting. And all that stuff costs Navy nothing. No more money than we were spending to begin with. So between the enhanced use lease and the energy savings contract. So, and the generators in the power plant, I'd like to say that there's huge generators. So like the things are like 25 feet long, big, like
Diesel?
they look like big diesel. They actually run on natural gas. And the heat, of course, they make a lot of heat, as any engine does. That heat's fed back into our steam loop, actually heat the base. And in the summertime, there's enough heat coming off those engines to provide all the heat we need on the base. And yes, we need heat for in the summer at the base. It's hot. Well, heat's hot water. And we got 1,500 to 2,000 sub-school students taking showers, and the galley uses a lot of water, and everybody's washing their hands. All that's free heat from the generator. So it's, it's a huge savings.
Technology is amazing.
Yeah, we can make power with those things for less than we can buy it through Groton Utilities. So that they're running all the time, providing 70–80% of our power, With the micro, we're able to completely go off grid if we need to. So
Building wise, if you guys updated all the lights, that's probably something they did first, but
as part of the energy savings performance contract, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Noresco is the company that did it. It's a Connecticut company. They came in and looked at all the ways we use energy on base, including even the water that we use. And they came up with a whole list of things for us to do. And that included not only the two generators, but also replacing the big boiler, which provides heat in the winter for the base. They upgraded in several of the larger like sub-school buildings and some of the other larger buildings. They upgraded all the lighting to LED lighting. They put in these energy control systems that like control the thermostats, shut them down, in the winter, back them down a little bit at night, or in the winter, in the summer, the exact opposite, bring it up a little bit at night and stuff like that. So between all those improvements, we're saving so much on the power bill and on the energy bill, gas and even water, that's paying for all that work that was done over the next, 10 years, whatever this contract is. That's why it's not really costing us anything more than we would have spent anyway.
Yep.
For the Navy to put in 17–18 megawatts of backup power, which is what we have now, that would have cost a huge chunk of change. We just tried to develop that somehow. So through those two programs, we got it done for free. So we just went to the ADC Association of Defense Communities conference this last fall, and I presented, the captain presented, and it's like people, there's a lot of bases went there, not only Navy bases, but other bases. Leaders went to this event, and we presented all these things that we have going on between the intergovernmental service agreements and these energy programs that I just talked about. Nobody can believe the success that we've had at subbase in doing all this stuff. Other bases, they might be able to get one or two things over the finish line, but we got like 5 or 10 big things over the finish line. They just can't believe it. It's like, it's all because we have such a strong relationship with our community. It's just, everybody loves us, and we, work well with everybody, and it's paying dividends, it really is. I mean, we talk to Groton Utilities all the time, town of Groton, city of Groton, all the other towns around here. The state has a big relationship with us, a great relationship with us too, Bob Ross and all. So it's unique. It really is. Because a lot of the bases in the communities are not quite as tight as we are, so. I think a lot of that could,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's, some of it, I think it's like at Norfolk, the communities around the base are like bigger, they're like county big governments. So it's a little harder to, everybody keeps changing. The leaders keep changing, and so it's a little bit harder. Here with the smaller towns, it's easier to.
Remember, we almost went through a divorce and I think we all got. We all
The BRAC, yeah, it scared everybody, yeah.
I don't know if
I think everyone appreciated what they did and who they were, but I don't think anyone actually had the knowledge of what the impact would possibly be. Like not everyone gets to work on base and see what happens there.
Right.
When we went through that and then the aftermath of feeling relieved that it wasn't gone. I mean, I think before we had a good relationship, but even now you said you're working with the utility department, that even on a sewer pipe where you guys were trying to figure out your own solution, the town had already used someone that had a new technology for the pipe. And so just even that kind of talking saves money.
Yeah, we have
stuff off each other.
we have these IGSAs. I just cover them quick if you're new, but we have one with the Groton Utilities, which they're gonna be doing the water testing for us, and like they can do other hydrant flushing and other stuff like that. So maintenance type items. But the IGSA also includes they can do repair work for us or even engineering work if we want it at some point too. So we're happy with that. We're saving some money by going that route, but the big thing is we're getting it done. And we're really, again, getting an even better working relationship with Groton Utilities, which is a win. We have another one with the DOT that we set up, and they're the ones that came up with the solution for the pipe. Right under our gate, as you leave our main gate, you'll notice there's metal plates there because there's a 6-foot pipe underneath there that runs all that water that runs along the front of the base. Down Crystal Lake runs through that pipe, and the pipe's all rotted out. It's dirt washing away and it's collapsed again. So we were going to replace the pipe. It was gonna be like a $2 million project, So DOT came in and said, "Oh no, we know a company that can design it. We have a contract with them." So we're going through them. It's going to cost us like $250,000, like 1/8 the price or something. So, and they did some improvements out front. We saved a lot with them.
There does seem to be a really good coordination with local and the Navy for infrastructure. Has it always been that way, or is this in recent years that?
Well, the IGSA things really started about the time I started working. Adam did a little bit with it too. That's kind of a new thing that the Navy's been doing, but certainly with like Groton Utilities, we've been working close with them through all these energy projects. They've been involved in all of them.
Yeah.
Certainly the CMAQ part, we're a big part of CMAQ. But yeah, no, even when I started working there, they were having monthly meetings with Groton Utilities. So,
but even relatively smaller projects, I think, are a great example of collaboration. Something like the Nautilus dock, where we're able to get funding. The town applied for the improvement of the asset on Navy property. We were able to secure the money through the Connecticut Port Authority, and although it's been delayed,
really built.
We're the ones that are handling the procurement, handling all of that so that the water taxi can be extended further north to the Nautilus. I mean, that may seem like a natural thing, but it doesn't happen in a lot of military communities.
Right. That's been my experience in other communities that have lived around. I've heard, even as much goodwill there is a lot of intransigence and getting people to work together. So I've just always been impressed with learning.
We have another IGSA with the Capital Region Council of Governments, which I always like to talk about this one. We were going to do it with our local cog to go to the Capital Region because they're more geared up for this, so we did. But through that IGSA, the Intergovernmental Support Agreement, through that we can access all the state of Connecticut contracts, which is like hundreds of them. We have a tunnel that goes from lower base to upper base, which is a pedestrian tunnel. And the thing was a mess. I mean, it was all lead paint, concrete was spalling. It was a disaster. We couldn't just go in there and sweep because of lead paint, it was all these regulations. So we had, through that contract, we ended up having Hasbro's come in and redo it. It's like beautiful now, compared to what it was. And we got that job done for about $130,000 with the environmental monitoring stuff, which sounds a lot, but if the Navy did that ourselves, it probably would have been closer to $300,000. So huge savings. The COG got some money out of it, kept in a local company. Hasbro is the Connecticut company. Problem is the government goes the bids out. You don't know who's going to do it. Could be somebody from New Jersey that gets the bid, you don't know. So at least it kept it local.
And it's a pedestrian tunnel?
Yeah, it's a pedestrian tunnel. Yeah.
Something that not many people know. I've been on base almost my whole.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's sort of like before the firehouse. It cuts in there between a couple of those buildings. It goes under the tracks and comes up by the, if you know where the subway is.
Yeah.
It's right behind the subway, behind the library. The entrance to it. So it goes down there and then across and comes out.
All the way to lower base?
Yeah, it goes under the road underneath the railroad track.
Oh.
And yeah, so that's really the way pedestrians get from upper base to lower base. Unless they're driving, and there's a couple other turnstiles too, but
Kind of as well.
those are mainly for people that are parking. But yeah, it's used a lot and it was a mess. So, and we're gonna be using those state contracts for a lot of things because it's so much easier for us than going through the whole federal procurement system, which is, how everything federal government is. It's just a whole lot easier with these contracts. So it's a win.
Is that what I tell somebody who asks me, I'd love to do work at the base, but I don't really know how? Actually, the way to do that is to make sure you have a contract with the state.
Well, we can access those contracts if it's something we need and not something that we already have some way of getting it done. If we can get it done cheaper that way, yeah, absolutely. And I think Sector there's a program through them to help with, applying for contracts and things with the federal government, because it is a big process. Like that's a lot of requirements. Apex. Yeah, so there's some organization. I know if you call up Sector, they can, Captain Whiteskerber actually is the old submarine base commander from two captains ago. He's actually running Sector, but he can talk to you about that. But yeah, they can help you figure out what you need to do to put those bids in and to get that work. Not only from us, but also through EB, I think, and other federal contracts and things. So
Procurement comes from Virginia. I think when we deal with people and get POs, I think we're talking to people in Virginia, which is for some of the public works contracts that we get. That some of it is like listed out, so you're dealing with, it's a little bit of a process. You can get in there though.
yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of contractors working on base.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a little bit cumbersome to do that. I'm not involved in all that, so I'm not really familiar with it too much, but I know Captain Whitescarver could probably steer you in the right direction.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Any other liaison reports? Council McBride, do you have anything or?
I don't actually have a report. Council hasn't been too busy since the election, but we, as Paige mentioned, there's a lot of things coming down the pike, and I think this council is going to move forward, hopefully quickly with all the things that are happening. And just want to say thank you to everyone on this meeting, because it's been very informative and it's exciting that there's so much going on in Groton. So just thank you all for your efforts and look forward to moving things down the pike.
Thank you, sir. Any other business? Motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you
Aye.
very much. Bye, George. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Have a good evening. Take care.